Just a quick little disclaimer before we get into this. Throughout the video, I accidentally said Galileo instead of Ptolemy because geocentric, geo sounds like Galileo. I was getting myself confused. Galileo defended the heliocentric model, not the geocentric model. Just clearing that up, it was Ptolemy who argued geocentrism. I'm in no way inclined to say that all knowledge is valuable. I'm well aware that there are huge swaths of such which are absolutely worthless to be known, but there are certain things that we have throughout history believed and yet now know to be incorrect, or at least not the way we suppose they were, that I still think knowing and having a knowledge and understanding of is just as important as understanding alongside the current contemporary held belief. And I am bringing this up now because I've been doing a lot of reading around Freud, which I've been meaning to get to for a while, and I've only just started it. And I know a huge criticism of Freud is, why is he so prevalently taught when we kind of know now a lot of his ideas weren't exactly correct. You know, he made a lot of assumptions and a lot of ill-advised jumps in his assertions, but it's the process. Science and every profession and school of thought is a process with a method going further than Aristotelian. Like, it's more important to know how you've got from the first idea of whatever the concept may be to the conclusion. It's more important to know that line than to know just the fact itself. And there's more value, or at least a consigning value, in our failures than there are in the facts. Think of how people used to, for hundreds, I think actually thousands of years, believed Galileo with his theory that we were, you know, the centre of the universe, that the sun wasn't, that we weren't heliocentric. People believed that, and condemnation of any opposing idea was a life threat. People who did come out and say that's not true, you know, had like prison sentences put on them, had tortures enforced on them. It was punishable. But we teach that we understood this then, and we also teach that now we understand the heliocentric model, and it's much more important to know of this human-held idea that lasted a very long time, longer than for how long we've held the heliocentric model, because not only does it give insight into the actual, you know, physics of the issue, it plays into the human condition and how we were so desperate to uphold this idea that, one, we're the only thing important, and two, if there is anything else, we are going to be the centric focal point. We can't handle as a species the insignificance of being as much another piece as some other part. Like, there are people who have been wrong or have been not correct. There's a difference between being incorrect and being wrong, but are just as valuable to hold their ideals. Think of the periodic table. The periodic table is incredibly accurate now, but it's definitely not correct. It's not 100% right. There are elements we know are missing, elements to be discovered, and so on and so forth. And 150 years ago, it was in a pretty similar state, just with less elements discovered, but we don't devalue. I think it was Mendelev's, I want to say, or it's a Russian name that I can't pronounce, but it begins with the MEN. He was originally posed the format, and though his format was incorrect, it gave us the basis for the exact one we have now. And when we discover whatever elements are to come and whatever elements we can manufacture or find and put in, I'm sure we're not going to devalue the ideals of the one we have now, because it may be incorrect, but it's not wrong, and there's still value to how we believed and how we could only possibly perceive what we had. You know, we make these jumps when necessary, and if they help us out, they help us out. If they don't, and they end up, leading us down a wrong path, we've already gone down it. We can't just erase that entire part of the process. We are meant to learn from our mistakes, and we can't learn from our mistakes and make new decisions based off avoidance of already done wrong by not knowing about them. So we do need to understand and to teach, alongside what we know to be fact now, the things we thought were fact and got wrong in the process of finding such fact, because it's almost, if not as valuable, to know if you intend any progression of what we think now, because there's so much knowledge we call fact now that, just like Galileo's central theory or the previous chemical atomic layouts that are definitely wrong. We will find changes and we will need to make changes, but if we make those changes without adapting or still accepting as somewhat valid what we have now, then we just debunk our own academia.